I'm proud to announce that we are introducing the Limit, Save, Grow Act of 2023. This responsible legislation will be led by our Budget Chairman, Jody Arrington. Would responsibly raise the debt limit into next year and provide more than $4.5 trillion in savings to the American taxpayer.
That was House Speaker Kevin McCarthy introducing a new Republican plan demanding strict limits to federal spending, including moves to stop funding coronavirus-related expenses, cut student loan debt giveaways, and repealing some green tax credits and providing taxpayer protection for families and small businesses. So could this be the financial break millions of Americans have been waiting for? Let's bring in the host of Wise Guys, John Tabacco. John, great to have you here.
JJ, how are you?
Good. You're in your car. I see you pull over and you're ready to give us some insight here.
You know, one of the great things Newsmax lets me do on Wise Guys is go out in the streets and talk to regular people. So I'm usually on the fly, but I'll be at the studio a little later, man.
I love it. All right, well, let's get to it. Speaker McCarthy tweeting this. For 77 days, President Biden ignored the impending debt ceiling crisis. Instead of leaving town today to give a speech, Biden should sit down with me, find an agreement, and avoid the prospect of his administration bumbling into the first default in our nation's history. Your thoughts on that?
I say what most of Wall Street says, yawn. You know, one thing that all the legislators in Washington, D.C. always figure out a way to come together on is spending more money. And I'm not making Republicans immune from that. It's a great plan by the speaker, if you ask me. It talks about only raising it 1% when they should really be talking about actually cutting it, not just slowing how much we're going to raise it, which is kind of tricky for people to understand. But that's really what they're talking about, like not spending as much as much. But the truth of the matter is, at the end of all days, if you look at the national spending over years and national debt, the chart is straight like this. So they're going to keep raising it. And the more money they print, the less money's in our pocket. And, you know, talking about, you know, last week, Jerome Powell in the Fed remarks in the notes that not everyone reads, but, you know, wonky wise guys like me do. It said in there that the Fed expects the beginning of a mild recession this year and then expects 2 years for us to recover. So everyone is saying recession. And these guys are talking about, let's not spend as much. So we got to stop spending, period.
And it doesn't even seem like they're close to a deal. There appears to be no negotiation. One side wants to spend more. One wants to cut. Are we even close to a deal? And are we? How close are we to that brink of a default?
I think we're going to go to default. I think once or twice before, you know, federal workers got put on furlough for a week or two. But the truth of the matter is, to me, we're not going to raise the limit. We're going to default it. It's like the old Roadrunner cartoons. You're running right up to the end of the cliff, but somehow or another, he goes over and keeps his feet on the ground and lives to fight another day. So I don't think basic Americans should get nervous about whether they raise it or not. The government's always going to spend more money. That's for sure. But how is it going to hit middle-class Americans in the pocketbook with more inflation from more spending?
Yeah.
That's the bigger issue, man.
Yeah, that is the big issue for sure. Let's switch gears here. Bank of America CEO saying on a quarterly earnings call Tuesday that everything points to a relatively mild recession given the amount of the stimulus that was paid to the people and the money that they have left over. Do you agree with that statement?
Well, I always say, listen to what they actually say. If you remember, Janet Yellen back in September was saying inflation is transitory, Powell, transitory. Okay, maybe there's a little inflation. All right, there's inflation. And then they got to start raising rates to fight inflation, and they start blowing up banks. So I mentioned it on the last topic. If the Fed is telling you that they're going to have a mild recession, and now you have the CEO of Bank of America saying his people see a mild recession. That's just the early stages of them telling us what the truth is. And regular people have known for the last 6 months, when we had 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP, we were in a recession from then. But they always tell the American public, like many other things, like a year later.
Yeah, it just seems like we end up getting the brunt of it down the road when, it's too late. John Tabacco, appreciate your time. You are a fantastic man. Wise Guys, check that out. That show airs every Saturday night, 10 p.m. right here on Newsmax. Watch as John and his fellow Wise Guys, as they take to the streets of New York, as he mentioned, they get to meet the average people. You don't want to miss that. John will be hosting The Count tonight as well at 5 p.m. right here on Newsmax.